Among the special privileges of an institution of higher learning at its commencement is the awarding of honorary degrees by the Board of Trustees. The recipient of such an honor exemplifies in his or her life and work the values and traditions held dear by the college. Certainly the two recipients of the Doctorate of Humane Letters are especially deserving of the degree we are about to bestow. It is my pleasure to call upon Mr. Darrell Owens, Beacon College's Director of Communication, to preside in the awarding of these degrees. It is my privilege to also call Jhillika Kumar to the front of the stage to be joined by Board Chair Averbeck and President Haggerty.
Good morning. It's often assumed that accomplishment is achieved with age. Here at Beacon College, we believe in recognizing the next generation's ability to transform our world. We are privileged to honor you today, a young woman whose tremendous empathy and innovation on behalf of the community we serve deeply inspires us. Like many younger sisters, your best friend was your big brother. But yours was not the typical sibling relationship. From day one, you were both supporter and caregiver to Vikram. 7 years your senior, Vikram's autism had stolen his ability to speak. Your love for your brother was fierce, and if you were his caregiver, he was so much more to you. He was your inspiration. Your whole life, you wondered what lay behind his enigmatic silence. At age 27, Vikram spoke his very first words thanks to technology. A dam was broken, and he let the world know that all those years he harbored the soul of a poet. His unleashed eloquence, clear intelligence, and the joy technology brought him led you to realize the immense potential of our world wastes when we don't harness the abilities of neurodiversity. What tremendous benefits would we reap if our classrooms, workspaces, and society itself didn't underestimate those whose brains work differently? Your questions inspired you to found Mentra, the first platform that matches neurodiverse individuals with employers. With a mission to tap into the potential of every human being, regardless of gender, ethnicity, or cognitive ability, and a goal to get 100,000 neurodiverse individuals into the global workforce by 2025, Mentra is making its mark just 2 years after its founding. Most recently, the Biden administration named Mentra the most innovative solution to solve the disability divide, while Microsoft's AI for Accessibility team recognized it as the 2022 project focused on advancing employment for disabilities. To those of us at Beacon, you are a difference maker. The spark you've lit illuminates the potential for a bigger and brighter future, not just for the neurodiverse, but for all of us. As Vikram wrote in one of his poems, he will win the war, and love will conquer all. With you by his side, there is no doubt. Love, compassion, and empathy are your internal drivers, and we cannot wait to see what you do next as you strive to help the world embrace neurodiversity. Therefore, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Beacon College, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, all rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto pertaining.
Wow, I am honored to be sharing this morning with all of you and standing at the first accredited institution devoted entirely to educating individuals who are neurologically diverse. I'd like to extend my congratulations and a big round of applause to all of you. Yes, I am talking to every one of you graduating today who's walked in this bold path in your education, meeting so many of you here today and learning about the challenges that you've overcome to be here. Whether that's the challenges as a neurodivergent, as a person of color, as a member of the LGBTQ community, as a person who's faced significant disability, as an immigrant to this country. You have persevered through the ups and the downs of life. And you have learned to advocate and stand up for who you are. Now, I also want to thank the incredible support system of parents, grandparents, faculty, allies, caretakers, and staff at Beacon for working tirelessly with hope to make this momentous milestone possible. I understand that your hearts must be beaming with pride. As Daryl said, my journey with neurodiversity began with my brother, Vikram, a non-speaking autistic individual who had no way of communicating with the world for the first 27 years of his life. As we grew up together, we loved each other dearly. And I started to notice that he was different. Most people couldn't relate to what he went through. You see, Vikram couldn't speak, and no matter how hard my parents and I tried to understand him, he threw tantrums in frustration for not being able to communicate. And what's worse, for being treated as unintelligent. Then, everything changed in 2019, when my brother was 27, the same number of years that Nelson Mandela spent in jail. His entire life transformed when he learned to type through a letterboard. With each word that he shared, we discovered just how smart he really was. We discovered his own gift of expression by writing Shakespearean-level poetry. It shattered every assumption that we had and opened the eyes of my entire family, including those all the way in India. Now, as his little sister, I watched his world blossoming, and I realized how this untapped potential goes overlooked in millions of neurodivergents across the globe. I learned that tapping into this potential not only brings an immense sense of independence and freedom, it makes the world a better place. And it gave me hope that one day Vikram could, and that he would, make his mark on the world. Now, this revelation completely changed my life path. 2 years ago, while I was still in college, I brought together a team of neurodivergents to build a company with one goal: to empower all neurodivergents to pursue fulfilling careers. Today, the company that we've built, Mentra, uncovers the unique cognitive advantages and matches neurodivergence with inclusive employers of the future. Now, before we look to the future, let's take a journey into the past. If I stood on this stage 40 years ago, well, there wouldn't be a stage, or this school, or the amazing resources that the Beacon College provides as such a progressive institution well ahead of its time. If I stood before you all in 1982, Sadly, I'd have to let you know that for most of your life, your value might have gone largely unrecognized because differences were often put under a rug and overlooked. And as we all know, trying to pretend that our differences don't exist or that they shouldn't exist often comes at a high cost towards our sense of self and society's well-being. But back to the present. Everyone in this room here today is the keeper of a valuable secret. What if I told you that each and every one of you is different for a reason? And with the right conditions, you all bring so much value to the world that the rest of society needs. Because differences in how our brains work allow us to come at things from completely new perspectives and with vastly different skill sets. And after all, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created them in the first place. When actualized, I believe these differences will allow us to solve humanitarian crises and accomplish way, way, way more than we could if everyone's brains worked the exact same way. My mission is to bring that secret out into the world, and it's already beginning. The word is getting out into the mainstream, and companies are listening. Of all industries, they're learning that diversity, including neurological diversity, is not just a nice to have, it is an essential core component of what will differentiate the businesses that thrive from the businesses that fail as we move into this millennium. And every day I see this shift beginning at Mentra as employers are realizing the unique value of different thinking. I see it when nonprofits look to hire neurodivergent canvassers for their ability to empathize and relate to humanitarian crises. I see it when governments look to hire neurodivergents into cybersecurity roles and engineering roles for pattern recognition and unique problem-solving ability. I see it when coffee shops across the country look to hire neurodivergents for their process-oriented thinking, ability to relate to others, and boost team morale. I see it when tech companies look to hire neurodivergents into design and user experience roles for their spatial thinking and creativity, as we saw in that awesome graduation cap. I see the future every day right before my eyes, and I am so very grateful to be a part of sharing just how multifaceted and broad-reaching your exceptional talents are. Because when you speak, people should listen. People will listen. Every one of you has a challenge that you have lived through and you have overcome in your life. When you share that story with the world and you put that passion into everything that you do, when you bring your authentic self and your genuine self to work, when you don't try to fit in, you stand out, you are going to be able to change the world. And the ripple effect that will have on your kids and your kids' kids and the future generations is enormous. You'll be telling them about how this class right in front of me and the neurodivergent adults of our generation stood at the forefront of a lasting, monumental shift in the way that our workforce is structured. It's a technological revolution happening right under our feet, and the jobs of the future are already so very different than the jobs of our parents. Today's employment landscape is completely transformed. Remote and flexible work, once seen as unimaginable, is now widespread. Everything is fresh and new and ripe for disruption. It is the perfect opportunity for all of us to rebuild the workforce from the ground up. And what's different? This time, we're going to be focused on inclusion. This isn't the Industrial Revolution. This is the inclusion revolution. Are you ready for it? Now, to conclude, some words from my brother, who calls himself the silent poet Vic. Staring into blue skies of soundless thoughts, days and nights colluding in voiceless expression, awaiting sunny season of warmth and a world that accepts, hankering for worldly embrace of inclusion. Class of 2022, are you ready to be the catalyst for this new world of inclusion? And remember, in the wise words of Steve Jobs, because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. Thank you.